Wow, holy smoke! Crash landing! Okie dokie, Dr. Jones, hold on to your potatoes! Hey, Dr. Jones, no time for love! We've got company!
This is a tough one. This is a figure I hadn't planned on buying. But at the same time, I kind of want it deep down. And I'm not sure where I'm going to go with this. I really am not. What I'm talking about is the retro series Indiana Jones Adventures Short Round. And right away, before I even take them out of the box, there's two things I noticed. For one, I think Short Round might be too tall. I mean, let's face it, he's Short Round. And for two, he does not have a whole lot of accessories. He has a torch. I mean, even the 3 3/4 inch one that came out from the 2008 line had a torch, indie stuff. I mean, come on. Now, you know, he has that retro logo up at the top, the one we never saw before with Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. And he's got some cross-sell with a lot of negative space on the back. I mean, the basic idea is here. And I mean, to me, I wanted to believe this was what we could have had with Indy after Temple of Doom. If Kenner had, continued with the line. Apparently not. And it is a little frustrating because it seems like when anybody gets a hold of the Indiana Jones license, they don't really know what to do with it. Hasbro puts out a ton of Indiana Jones and forgets there's this cast of characters that we kind of wanted in figure form. I mean, do you need an example? Well, let's take a look. Kenner, originally. Now, I mean, I don't have that many of the Kenner figures. I have Indy, Indian German Disguise, and the German Mechanic. I had Belog at one point. I don't know what happened to him. I had Sala at one point. I don't know what happened to him. I'm going to assume that they were in one of the boxes that were stolen. And those are the only ones I've managed to find. I never had any of the playsets. That was due to the fact they never arrived in my area. Literally, I never saw them. And so I was never really able to buy them, even if I wanted to. When eBay came back around and, people are starting to pick up their vintage collections, I'm going to be honest. I was so wrapped up in filling in gaps for G.I. Joe and Star Wars, I didn't even think about Indiana Jones. We got up to the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull line, and we got some really good modern versions of many characters with good articulation and all the bells and whistles. Now, granted, some of them fell flat, but there's some of them were real knockouts. I still haven't got the Lost Wave. It's really bugging me that I've never gotten the Lost Wave. It came about at a time when I was moving and money was tight, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't order it. I wanted to so bad, and I couldn't. And I thought I could get it later on the secondary market. No, not really. It's really hard to get. So then this came along, and as soon as I saw the Vintage Collection Indie, I was like, no. Oh, God. It's attempting to do something they have no knowledge of. And I pretty much avoided it until they said they were doing Temple of Doom. I was like, oh boy, that's tempting because I want Short Round to hang around within my vintage indie. And so as I look at the package, the one big question that comes up on my brain is, why is it that Short Round does not have the New York Giants logo on his cap? Somebody said that was licensing, but there is no New York Giants anymore. There's no one to license to. There's no one. Forget it. And I mean, it's got the nice picture on the profile and everything, but it's just something not right. I mean, Shorty looks a little too tall. That's part of it. But there's more to it. It's like, it just doesn't look like a real vintage action figure. And that's weird, because you look at it, and you just bare bones look at it, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a vintage era figure. But there's something wrong with the shape of the face, and the eyes, and the hands. It's just not quite there. And this is kind of my issue with Super 7, and just about every retro line. They never quite fit into the aesthetic they're trying to get into. They're always falling a little bit flat, and always are a little bit short. No pun intended. And I sit him beside of my vintage Indy. And first thing I notice, he's up to Indy's shoulder. That shouldn't happen. There's just something with it's an all-around thing. There's something with the colors. There's something with the skin tone. It's just all over the place that, you see little things that are obviously missed from this figure. From Short Round, I mean. It's really easy to catch when you stand them side by side. I mean, that's before you get into any kind of, poor Indy. He's been through a lot in my collection. He's got some wear, but he still has a certain look and feel to him. I have to be honest, Short Round feels cheap. I mean, he feels cheaper than, normally a figure of this type would. I don't know what's going on at Hasbro. They're cheaping out on the plastics, I'm sure. But he just feels like, I don't know. I can't describe it. It's really difficult for me to describe. I guess another thing is that I noticed that they didn't put knee articulation on Short Round. Since they made his legs so long, I don't know why they didn't do that. That's a little weird. Just a 5 POA figure. I really hadn't paid attention to the Indiana Jones lines enough to notice if they put knee joints on any of the figures. And of course, why they did put knee joints on Indy was so that he can ride his horse. Capital idea, man. Anyway. But, at the same time, I don't know how I feel about it, because I wasn't even going to buy it. I was going to pass on it. Then I did order something from Target, and I needed a few dollars for that free shipping, and I looked around and couldn't find anything. I said, there's a chance to buy Short Round. So I did. And so I got that free shipping, and then I'm like, okay, why did I do that? I still don't know. And of course, right after I do that, they put it on clearance. That makes it even worse. It's a hard one. It's tough because, it reminds me you can't go home again. You can't go back in time. The heart and the soul of it is gone. And that doesn't mean you can't capture the spirit. It's just, you have to recognize that this is never going to measure up to the vintage line. Hasbro doesn't have it in them to do something of that caliber. They don't know how to do it. And it's a shame, because Short Round deserves a good vintage figure. At any rate, I have to give this one a kind of low rating, even though I don't want to. But it's just not there. It's only about 2 stars. Maybe 1.5. It had potential, but it was lost. He's still going to sit up on my shelf beside a vintage Indy, though, because I do feel like the duo is now complete. Now the debate goes for Henry. Oh man, what am I going to do there? I don't know. But I do know this. This is probably going to be the last grouping of Indiana Jones figures we ever see. So I'm going to grab a few, just to say, yes, I'm an Indiana Jones fan. I love Indy all the way through. I'm not going to buy a turd that has Indy's name on it, but I am going to buy some stuff from Indy. because I just enjoy indie that much. Thank you for watching Infinite Realms. Don't forget to like and subscribe.